You know what they say about bullies? They always mistake silence for surrender. Mike Johnson's been counting on our politeness, banking on our civility, praying we'll just go away. But here's the thing about faith, Mike. Real faith doesn't hide from the truth. It demands it. Every time they tell us to calm down, to be civil, to wait our turn, they're betting on our exhaustion. But guess what, Mike Johnson? We're wide awake. You can hide behind hymns and hashtags all you want, but faith without truth is fraud. And this time, the congregation's not buying your sermon. On Saturday, millions of Americans took to the streets, not with weapons, not with hate, with conscience. And you called it violence. 7 to 8 million people, Mike. You said George Soros paid us all. Well, where's my check? Because I've got bills, and apparently I'm part of some massive conspiracy just for giving a damn about my country. They say sunlight's the best disinfectant. Problem is, you've been standing in front of the windows, Mike, blocking the light, protecting predators, hiding files, playing games with representation while calling it faith. But Moses didn't block the Red Sea to protect Pharaoh, and we're not about to let you drown democracy in your moral theater. So let's open the blinds, all of them. Welcome back to Sanish. Today's guest is someone who knows how to blend righteous anger with razor-sharp wit. Andy Ostroy is here. He's the producer and host of The Back Room with Andy Ostroy, one of the best political podcasts out there for anyone who likes their commentary honest, funny, and fully caffeinated. Although now we know, with tea. Maybe stay tuned for coffee. Andy's also an acclaimed filmmaker and producer. You might know his deeply personal HBO documentary, Adrian, about his late wife, writer and director Adrian Shelley, whose groundbreaking film Waitress went on to become a Broadway phenomenon. He's a guy who's seen the best and worst of what this country can dish out and still shows up every week with humor, decency, and outrage in equal measure. Today, we're talking about what keeps him in the fight and the very thin line between sanity and survival in American politics right now. What are you drinking? You got a little coffee there?
Tea, hot tea. I don't do coffee. I haven't had coffee in about 30 years.
Wow.
I missed on the whole craze, the whole pumpkin spice pumps, all that crap that my kid, I have no idea. Yeah. When I drank coffee, it was coffee and cappuccino. That was it. That's the only thing that existed. So,
I don't do any of the, coffee doesn't like me. Like, I should not drink coffee. Really can't drink coffee, but this is a regular Dunkin' coffee.
The best,
so far,
from what I hear.
So good. Yeah. I don't do all the fancy, I don't need the
frappuccino,
caramel.
Alpacino, all that good stuff.
Like, I don't need pecans in my coffee, Andy. Right. I just, you know what?
Pumpkin
Life is
spice.
nuts enough.
I don't want anything pumped into my coffee. That just sounds like corporate sewage, pollution sludge, like pumping. Right. Certain things don't need to be. It's like pineapple on pizza. Like, why fuck with something that doesn't need to be fucked with? You know what I mean? But I might try it again soon.
Really?
Yeah. I feel like I'm missing something. I feel like coffee has gotten so good over the years. Like, when I used to drink coffee, I'd go into some fucking deli.
Yeah.
You could see that it was like sitting for a while, but like it was like really good coffee.
If you start dipping your toe back in the coffee pool, let me know. I'd like to get your feedback on, how it feels to 30 years later go back to the coffee.
That's a whole episode right there. It is riveting. Yeah. Riveting.
I would tune in for that. Look. Let's just jump in because this is actually a good topic sort of to jump in because
sure.
I would watch a podcast about trying coffee for the first time in 30 years because I'm so fucking sick and tired of being mad and sad and anxious and upset and irritated and pissed off and scared. I just want something, anything. Please, God, universe, give me fucking something mindless for an hour where I can listen to you talk about, Joe, I tried coffee for the first time in 30 years and I got to tell you, here's my thoughts. I would watch that.
Well, how did you make it? Well, let's start at the beginning. Don't leave anything out.
And we're not going to talk about politics at fucking all. But but you're here, and we're not here to talk about coffee, even though I could talk to you about coffee all day long. But to that point, though, Andy, like, it's fucking relentless. It's fucking relentless.
It's exhausting is what it is. And it comes at us so quick. It's like a machine gun, and you don't know which bullets to dodge because so many of them are noise. Virginia Giuffre's posthumous memoirs out today. The
That's
Epstein
today.
scandal is not going away. I believe that so much of what we see out of Trump is a distraction from that. The demolition of the White. Think about, and I've been caught up in this too because I can't believe it. But like the
Well, I wanna talk
demolition
about it.
of the White House, like that to me is just it's another distraction. It's just to get us. What are we talking about today? Not Virginia Giuffre's book. We're talking about how he's demolishing the East Wing. So I think it's just the rapid fire distractions that he throws at us. It is not only disconcerting, but it's exhausting because there's some things we have to fight back on, and there's others. And I try to do this myself, and I think I do a pretty good job of it, to not get caught up in his noise.
Yeah, that's the thing about Trump. It always has been the thing about Trump is that he floods the zone with shit, but you can't ignore. It's like you can't ignore the monkey in the corner of the room throwing the shit completely because you have to, I mean, literally shit, but you have to deal with it. You have to address it. But at the same time, it's throwing the shit to distract you from the really scary stuff and the really disgusting stuff that it's done and is doing. And that's the tightrope you have to walk with Trump. But I agree with you. I was thinking about that this morning. Think how deeply and universally unpopular it is to tear down the White House, to demolish the White House. I got to tell you, even in my replies, the most MAGA of all the MAGAs, they're not like, yeah, I love it, fucking tear it down. It looks like a terrorist attack, right? What they're saying instead is, well, he's entitled to remodel. Other presidents have remodeled. They're trying to make sense of it for themselves because as an American, anyone, honestly, looking at that, you're like, this is fucked up. This is scary shit. Like, what the fuck? He's like King Kong. But I was thinking about that this morning because the Santos pardon, the likely Diddy pardon, and we know what's coming, which will be a Maxwell pardon. He is willing to do the most unpopular things. He's willing to tank the economy, kill our farmers. He's going to go after the cattle industry next. He's willing to do the most unpopular things ever. His popularity is sitting at 37% right now because he doesn't want us talking about this one thing that must be so bad. It must be much worse than any of us could possibly imagine because he's willing to do these other awful things that look terrible for him so that we aren't talking about that. And I think to me that what that signals is, holy shit, Andy, what the fuck did he do?
Well, we can surmise what he did. You know, in her book, she refers to billionaire 1, billionaire 2, and billionaire 3. Now, when we know that he was pretty damn close with Jeffrey Epstein, depending upon which account you want to pay attention to, either one of them or both of them has referred to the other as the best friend. Yep. So if there's a best friend or a very close friend, and there are also 3 billionaires who Virginia Giuffre named in her, identified in her book with those titles, how is it? It's hard to fathom that he's not one of them. And, you know, this has the potential to be the greatest scandal obviously in presidential history. And I was wondering if you noticed, if you caught what Eric Swalwell had said last week, where he said there's a bombshell that is going to drop in this case, and that there's Republicans that he's been talking to that are already gearing up to drop him because it's so bad.
No, I didn't see that.
This was like maybe a week ago, 10 days ago. And I thought, you know, I know Eric. I've had him on my podcast a few times. He seems like a pretty straight shooter. He's never been caught up in bullshit and conspiracy theories.
No.
And I thought, if he's saying that, there's got to be something there, right? And I think you're right. I think everything we're seeing is a distraction from that because that is the one thing that could take him down or would take him down. And so he's doing what he does best, which is to distract. The media jumps all over it. But it's not going away. Yeah, I'm out of here.
Right?
The night before the book was published.
This is the thing, right? So I agree with you. It's not going away. And I thought it was very interesting that Prince Andrew made like his, right. There are enough people who know what's coming because they were involved, who are like, Yeah, I need to exit stage left in whatever possible way I can. And the royal family complicit in covering up a lot of this. By the way, there's a whole bunch of connections with Sarah Ferguson that are extremely disturbing, and their children. That I won't say they're verified, but at least they're out there in the ethers. But that they know what's up and that what's coming is not the kind of thing that even Teflon Don, who I would say argue he could. I often say this, like he could literally shoot a baby seal in the middle of Fifth Avenue while like bowboarding Vladimir Putin and like screaming death to America and live stream it on TikTok. And people will be like, I love you. You're the greatest. No one's ever killed a baby seal like you. But there, even the most deeply cultish people, if faced with what he'll say are fake images, but if faced with images of him engaging in acts with children, I think that no matter what, you cannot evade and escape the accountability and the consequences for that. As far gone as they might be, as far gone as we might be as a country. Again, he knows that, which is why he will literally destroy our White House so that we're not talking about this. The government is shut down right now because also pious MAGA Mike Johnson, who has his own skeletons and accountability porn partner in his son, is shutting the government, keeping the government shut down, not swearing in Grijalva, so that they don't get the 218th vote on that discharge petition. That is all to protect him, to shield him from accountability from this. That has to mean that it's bad. He knows it's bad. He knows it's irrecoverably bad,
I think he knows more than we do. And then he knows that it's really bad. I think they know that it's bad. And that's the strange part, that they still are covering for him. But, fear is a very powerful drug. But there are survivors. There are people like Marjorie Taylor Greene who won't let this go. And there's this book. There's a congressional hearing. This is not going away. And at some point, see, what I think is going to happen is there will be others who are incriminated in this thing. Mm-hmm. And he's just going to get rolled up into that, because people are not going to go down. They're not going to go down for him. They're not going to go down for Jeffrey Epstein, and they'll cut deals. That's how it happens. It's like that pyramid, just like you see on TV. It's like they start on the lower level. All right, give me some juice on the big guys. And then, all right, if I get immunity, I'll tell you everything I know about Donald Trump, or I'll tell you everything I know about Prince Andrew, or all of them. And look, I believe in this country, and I also believe in the rule of law, which means I believe in the presumption of innocence until proven guilty. And I apply that to Donald Trump, whether he deserves it or not. But there is so much circumstantial, I don't want to say evidence, but speculation around his involvement. He is named multiple times in the files. Why would he be named multiple times? And he was a friend of Epstein. He did go and hang out with Epstein. He is someone who was found liable for sexual assault. He is someone who has been accused of sexual assault by upwards of 20 other women. So it's not like you're talking about like Obama. Like if someone said Obama was involved, you'd be like, Obama? Really? But when you say Trump, nobody goes, Trump? Really? Involved in the Epstein? So this is building. How many months ago were people saying like, this is going to go away? That's it. She's a Pam Bondi. No, there, right? And from that moment on, I kept saying it's not going away. And the reason it's not going away, because this shit matters to MAGA. It is the only thing that matters to MAGA. And, I've had, I don't know if you know who Rich Logis is, but he runs this group called Leaving MAGA. A very interesting guy. He was in MAGA for 7 years. He finally got out, started this organization. Really smart guy, very articulate. And now he runs an organization that helps other people get out of MAGA. And he said, with all this stuff they accept from him, which is crazy because no normal person would, the one thing that gets them is children. So to your point, he cannot escape the speculation that he was involved in some way, either himself in this disgusting sex trafficking cabal of underage girls, or he's protecting others who are in his orbit.
Or both, right?
Or both.
Like, and I think what he's doing is setting the table with, like, being beyond, the Rubicon, so to speak, with our outrage over his pardons of people who are deplorable, to say the very least. I mean, started in his first season of the shit show, but the January 6th pardons, we were shocked and outraged. Like, how could you? These are some incredibly violent people who, attacked our Capitol and tried to hang our vice president, etc. So then, you have other commutations and pardons, and then you get to George Santos, and it's just unabashedly like, no, he didn't deserve it, but he voted for me. And then you're going to get to Diddy, and then then you're going to get to Maxwell, and by that point, he figures we'll have kind of exhausted the outrage machine, right? It's just like, this is what he's doing, is setting the table for that. And the other thing that, Andy, this drives me crazy, and I can't figure it out. I can't understand this. I don't understand this. I've asked so many people. I don't understand this. Why isn't anybody making a bigger deal out of the fact that he gave her, first of all, immunity for that testimony with Todd Blanche, who is his own attorney from the hush money trial, that they flew her from a fairly, locked down prison where she was in a cell, and flew her to a Club Fed. And now, not only is she there, but they locked down the whole campus so that she could be visited by some mysterious person, so that nobody else could leave their rooms, so that she could talk to whomever this was. Like, where is the outrage about this? Like, why isn't anyone just asking the question? Why was a 20-year convicted child sex trafficker, arguably one of the most infamous child sex traffickers in our country's history, why was she not only moved inexplicably?
Well, we know why.
Why isn't anyone asking him?
Because
everyone,
it was
Bundy.
When that whole shit went down in Trump time, that's like 12 years ago. I mean, tell me what he did last week. Can you remember what he did last week? What he said last week? Like, but where it matters. And look, in order for me to keep myself sane, I don't expect, nor do I want, all of MAGA to abandon him. We don't need that. Okay? Right. We know that this is a president who was elected with less than 50% of the popular vote. Yeah. He brags that he won all the swing states, but I don't think he won any of them with more than 2%. Every election these days is won or lost on the margins, which means if 5% of his supporters or 5% of Republican voters switch to Democrats, we win elections, right? So he's already lost the independents. That's a fact. Okay. All the polling shows that he is completely underwater. It's like a 35% swing from black into the red. And he is losing, or at least he is on the precipice of losing, a fair amount of MAGA because of this particular issue. But also when you look at Marjorie Taylor Greene, there's issues of the Iran bombing. There's issues of the tariffs. There are so many things that his supporters may not be on the ledge over yet, but they're watching, they're concerned. But this Epstein thing, if he would have pardoned Ghislaine Maxwell, which I don't think he's going to do, because I honestly think he's not that stupid or that clueless. But that to me would be, if not the final nail in the coffin, pretty much one of the final nails in the coffin. Because that we know that she was moved to that camp because Blanche went down there to get her to say, I never saw anything bad happen with Donald Trump. Right. That was it. That was what that was all about. They got that. They moved on. There's been a million other distractions. But I don't think the people who really shouldn't forget, I don't think they have forgotten. Maybe the media doesn't cover it anymore. Maybe the outrage that you and I might be looking for every day. But I don't think that matters. I think the chipping away, that's why his popularity is sinking to 37%. It's collective. When he's chopping away the White House, that's just yet, or perfect example, over the weekend, he said, he posted that meme, Trump 28, right? That is classic Trump noise, classic Trump distraction, because the ceasefire fell apart. Groceries are still expensive. All the things he's been promising, the Israel-Gaza war is not over, right? He already claimed it was number 8 on his list. That's not over. he's ceding Ukraine to Putin. These are
Yes.
all So getting back to the earlier point, it's like, what do we really need to focus on? I try to keep a good chunk of my time on Epstein. Try not to let anyone in my social media, anything on my anyone on my who might listen to my podcast, to keep that story as alive as one man, can do. And I think collectively, there's a lot of people that are doing that where it counts.
I agree. But I would disagree with you on one thing. I don't think their usefulness for Ghislaine I don't think it's expired yet. I think even though that was a nothing burger and that's enough for them to say, look, totally exonerated. There's another shoe that will be dropped. They didn't show all their cards on that. I really do think.
But in this book, there are passages where Virginia says, like, I was led by Ghislaine Maxwell into a room with a giant massage table and a naked Jeffrey Epstein. And she said, meet Jeffrey Epstein. Like, the book describes the pimping that Maxwell did. And I think it's going to be very hard for him to pardon her without mass outrage across the entire political spectrum.
No, you're right, and I don't want to put the cart in front of the horse on this because we have enough real outrage to deal with in real time, but it remains to be seen, and we will see, because what I would suggest here again is that whatever is actually in these files, whatever is actually out there in existence that he knows about, is so bad that he would be willing to take the flack for pardoning her if it meant that she has some other thing that she could come out with and say. And I don't know what that is, but I don't know why anybody would trust her, but he also expects.
See, that's the other thing. If she said, okay, I could give you Elon Musk.
Yeah.
You don't think Elon Musk is going to be like, whoa, wait a second. I was on the plane with Donnie Boy. Okay. I didn't go there myself. You know what I mean? Like, those people aren't going to go down for that kind of crime without cutting the deal of their life. And the deal of their life is going to be to give up the Godfather.
Yeah, like the mob, right? Like, I mean, he loves the mob mentality. That's what, he cut his teeth on that. He still operates under that. That will be his undoing ultimately in that fashion, would be the greatest justice of all time. What I want more than anything, I want accountability for him. I want repercussions for him. But to your earlier point about all of these people who are covering for him, I want every one of them. I want Nuremberg trials for every fucking one of them. I want to see Carolyn Levitt cry on a stand while her baby watches. Mommy, what did mommy do? When Carolyn Levitt has to explain how she ran cover for a man she knew had been a monster, was a monster, and victimized children. I want to see Stephen Miller and Pam Bondi and Marco Rubio up there. I want to see all of them bend the fucking knee to justice. That's what I want, because how in the world can you look at yourself? And I know, like James Comey said, he eats their souls in little bites until there's nothing left. How can you get up, JD Vance, Usha Vance? How can you get up and look at yourself in the mirror every day when you know what you're covering for, Mike Johnson? I mean, even Marjorie Taylor Greene, and we could argue all day long about what her motivations are here, and I have a whole theory about that, but even Marjorie Taylor Greene is like, that's a bridge too far. Thomas Massie, one of the worst people in Congress, that's a bridge too far. But for the rest of them, I want to see them face justice. I want accountability and repercussions for all of them.
Here's my quick theory on Marjorie Taylor Greene. I think she is one of the most politically astute politicians that the Republican Party has ever seen. I think she's one of the most powerful Republicans, especially MAGA Republicans, in Congress. I think that woman sees the handwriting on the wall, and she is calculating her move to be on the right side of history, not just with Epstein, but a couple of other things, but in particular with Epstein, because you cannot, to your point, you cannot be on the wrong side. You can be on the wrong side of tariffs. You can be on the wrong side of all kinds of shit, whatever.
Right.
You cannot be on the wrong side of this. And I take that, maybe I'm just a naive liberal, but I take that as a sign that she knows where this is going. And she knows that Donald Trump won't be around forever. And she knows that maybe even MAGA, as we know it, won't be around forever the same way. And she wants to be, she's not an old woman. She's a relatively young woman by political standards.
My age, I think.
She wants to be the future of that wing of the party. And I give her props. Because to your point, there's so many others. Most of them are not doing that.
No. This is the irony here too. She has no reason. She has no electoral reason to be taking a stand against him. She's in a she moved to where she is in Georgia to be in a district where she would not be challenged. There's no risk of her, being, voted out because she didn't stand with Donald Trump or stood with Donald Trump. Either way, she's doing this, like you said, and I don't want to give her credit for much. I think she's a fairly repugnant individual in many ways, and I also think she's a racist, and I think that she's anti-Semitic, etc. And I'm not going to give her any slack on any of that, but she is savvy enough to know, you're right, the writing is on the wall here, and she has their trust. She has MAGA's trust, and whether that was earned through legitimacy or not, I also think, he burned her. He told her he wouldn't endorse her for Senate. This is what I've heard through a lot of people who know, conversations on the inside. And she was like, I have done everything for you. I have been with you lockstep every step of the way. And how dare you? And now she's like, you know what? I don't care anymore. Like, I'm not afraid of you. He can't do anything to her.
Right. She
knows it.
She's the only one who, in going up against Donald Trump, says, I don't give two fucks. I don't care. And she's going against the party. She's talking about, she's on the side of Democrats in a sense with regard to the shutdown.
Yeah.
I mean, the stuff she's been saying about the shutdown with regard to health care and Medicaid and the expiring Obamacare subsidies, and her party offering nothing. Like, she sounds like a Democrat. So, look, I've forgiven Liz Cheney for a lot of the things Liz Cheney has done and said. At one point, I used to watch Adam Kinzinger and go, man, why is that guy doing what? I've fallen in love with so many of those ex-Republicans over the years, because where it matters, which is to stand up for the Constitution, to stand up for the rule of law, or to stand up for what is right in terms of an Epstein, like I won't ever overlook a lot of the things a lot of these people do. But if you've decided for whatever reason that today you're going to be a little different than you were yesterday to do the right thing, I cut people a lot of slack for that, because desperate measures for desperate times. Like, we have to, it's no different than if you were in a dark alley and you were getting the shit kicked out of you by 10 people, and the mean girls in high school or whatever came by, or the guy that, is your business enemy. Like, if someone's willing to help you in that situation, you're in that moment. You don't care what they did to you yesterday, the day before. You'll take the help. And I think that's the way we have to look at all this today. You and I both, from traveling in this world over the last few years with podcasting, we've become friends with lots of people that used to be majorly on the other side of the table doing some serious damage to us, like Rick Wilson and all those guys. So, but they saw what was happening and they changed and they joined. They're not... A lot of these guys are still conservative, and I don't care about that. They're entitled to their opinions if they differ from mine. But where it matters, national defense, national security, the Constitution, the rule of law, due process, blah, 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 sex with minors, like, they're on the right side of history. And so, whatever, I'm not looking for perfection. I think purity tests is on some level could be the death of the Democratic Party. People get too caught up in that. I mean, I would have arguments with people about Liz Cheney, but she was against abortion. Well, you know what? If you're living in a democracy, a dictatorship, abortion is not your problem, right? So why don't you forget about that and just focus on the fact that she is risking everything in her life to save your democracy. But some people can't. They can't get there. They're too hung up on, like in the protests this weekend. I saw people, look, I'm a Jew. I support Israel, but I'm not a fan of everything Israel's doing right now. I'm not a fan of, I hate Netanyahu. I think he's a war criminal. I have terribly mixed feelings on this centuries old conflict. I don't like to see people die. I don't like to see children die. I don't care what you're called, whether you're a Jew or a Palestinian or Arabic. But when I'm marching down a No Kings parade and people are like, free Palestine. I'm like, come on, liberals, can you please do me a favor for one day? Just focus.
Yeah.
Can you focus on one thing like the Republicans do and just march, literally and figuratively, march in lockstep on Donald Trump? But we know that Democrats, they get so, this one brings this issue into the conversation, and this one brings this issue, and then before you know it, there's 20 different conversations going on, and Republicans are ending up winning everything.
I call it the party of Veruca Salts. This is I've said this for a long time, right? Like it to your points, these purity tests have already been in large measure a detriment to us because it's, but I want it now. And I don't care what everybody else wants or needs. I want what I want. Right. And if you don't line with me on everything, then you can't be in my party. And it's like, shut up, grow up. That's not how life works. True. That's how you end up down the motherfucking chute with an Oompa Loompa song, okay? Like this is not life. It's not being a grown up to want what you want and only what you want and accept the people who accept what you want and fight for what just you want. That doesn't work. Sometimes you have to be willing to compromise. Sometimes you have to be willing to focus on something you all want. And then later, once you get that thing, like, say, democracy, then you can have your disputes and debates about all the other stuff. I fucking can't stand 99.9% of the things that Liz Cheney has ever said and done in her political career. But I understand that on this one issue, that is preserving and protecting the democracy that we have, that we've taken for granted, that she can come in my tent. And then when she's in there and when we've saved it, and then we can have those arguments about platform and policy and positions, but only then. But in the meantime, we'll take every fighter we have. The opposition and resistances and movies, they don't all look the same. They don't all come from the same planet or planetary system or moons, whatever. They come from all over the place.
We couldn't have won World War II without the Russians. We weren't friends with the Russians, but together we were on the right side of that issue.
Exactly. And then we could fight, another day. But I agree with you, Andy. I think that we need to, and I experienced that at the No Kings protest I was at as well. And it was like, come on already. Like, we have one job today, one job, two.
One job, one message.
Yeah. But I honestly think this is just the beginning of conversations that we're going to have about all of this. And this is as good a place to leave it as any, because, it's just clear-eyed. That's what your perspective is. And that's why I appreciate you and enjoy talking to you so much. And it's no bullshit. Yeah. So thank you, Andy, for having this conversation with me today. Thank you for making sure that people don't forget about the Epstein files. People are not going to forget. And go out and get that book. I got to check that book. Do you have it? Did you get it?
I had it on pre-order. I listen to books now. I'm like hooked on audiobooks because I can drive and listen. I can jog and listen. And I got the notice this morning that it was available. So it's in my library. So that's what I'm going to be listening to later. I
got to get it. And that's what I do. I can get my nails done while I'm getting listening to my book.
I think the fallout, maybe not today or maybe tonight, because they're still obsessed over the demolition at the White House. But I think that this is going to start to get some serious media coverage. And it's going to be an incredibly important book.
Agreed. And I just want to make sure so that I say this, though, because I'm sometimes very childlike in the way that I view things in this country and people in this country and institutions and actual buildings in this country. This demolition that happened yesterday, it really did. It is hitting me really hard.
Yeah, me too.
My kids
a lot of people
have been there. Just a year ago, I was standing on the steps that are now gone, taking pictures, taking videos, and saying goodbye to a building that is representative of American democracy, whether or not it's just a physical place or not. I said goodbye, thinking I would not see it again personally, maybe for some time, if ever, but not at all for 1 second. Thinking it would be gone from this earth and no one would be able to see it again. It is an egregious abuse and frankly a metaphor for everything about him.
But you know what? And if I could just say one thing before we go on this, it is a classic example of his pathology and why ultimately it probably won't end well for him politically, because he can't get out of his own head. A head that is drowning in crippling insecurities. So like every other president we've ever had, he simply cannot go into the White House, respect that building, respect history, custom, tradition, landmark preservation. He can't do that. He has to make it his own. He has to take that stamp that says Trump and brand it like he tries to brand everything else. So you have all this garish gilded gold bullshit everywhere. You have the destruction of the Rose Garden. You have a man who has to make it his, because it's not enough. Just think about this. It's not enough. If I became president, I'd be like, I'm not even putting picture frames out. All right. Cause I don't want to change a thing. He has to change it because nothing is ever enough for him. And I think that pathology will ultimately contribute to his undoing, whether it's the Epstein files that come out and incriminate him or something else. He's a fascinating study in I think anthropologists and sociologists and psychiatrists and academics for centuries are going to be studying him, but he did make it into the White House twice. So he has some kind of evil genius. But like a lot of people who achieve that level of success, they also have a side of them that is so incredibly self-destructive. And literally and figuratively, we're seeing that self-destruction right now outside the White House.
Yeah. Yeah, we are. And we could analyze that all day because he's like a fucking toddler and he just has to put his name on everything because he knows he has no real accomplishments. So he slaps his name on big erections and he'll feel like that's his legacy.
The irony is when he sits in the Oval Office and we see all that gold, like he thinks that's awesome. We see like a fucking New Orleans whorehouse. You know what I mean? like everybody's like, does this guy actually think that shit looks good? Right?
Yeah. But like, look at him though, Andy. He looks like a fucking melted circus peanut.
Yeah,
like if you mated it with like an Oompa Loompa on a walk of shame. Like look at him. He is a fucking.
He wants to be like his heroes, like Saddam Hussein, who had the palace, the presidential palace.
Yeah, he's building himself a fucking ark, an ark to triumph,
a ballroom for a man who has no friends. Think about that.
Right. Yeah. Well, that's the thing too. Again, this is this other side. It's this deeply insecure. Like if I make this ballroom and fill it with people who want access and power, those people care about me, and then I can prove to the world that I am somebody, that I am likable, but I know deep down that I'm not. Oh Lord, we could talk about that all day. All right. Well, thank you, Andy.
Thank you
so much for joining. I hope you're doing well. Let's go, Knicks. That's it for today's episode of Sanish. Huge thanks to Andy Ostroy for bringing his trademark humor, heart, and honesty to the table. You can catch Andy every week on The Back Room, where he dives deep into politics and culture with conversations that are equal parts therapy, truth serum, and comedy club. If this conversation hit home, share it, tag a friend, and join us in the back room, so to speak. We'll be here every week, breaking down the madness and trying to stay just sane-ish enough to keep going. Thanks for listening.